Welcome back, brave listeners and fellow podcast survivors. Today we're diving into episode 3, Confessions of a Female Founder, titled Building Your Brand Brick by Brick, featuring celebrity hairstylist Katie Lee. Now, listen, this is the full episode breakdown. So, if Meghan's voice already has you reaching or hovering over the mute button, I get it, I really do. But before you run off to find peace of mind, could you do me a quick favor? Scroll to the very end of the video. It helps my channel more than you know. So thank you. And don't worry, I will have a shorter, condensed version of this chaos coming next, just for you. Now, for those staying with me all the way through, buckle up and bless you, because if you've listened to this podcast before, you know one thing. These titles mean absolutely nothing. Episode 1 was called The Evolution of an Entrepreneur, and we learned nothing about the evolution of Whitney. Episode 2, The Long Game. No long game in sight unless the strategy is to see how long we'll tolerate these buzzwords. And now here we are with building your brand brick by brick, which sounds promising, except we all know by now this could be easily 45 minutes of praising Meghan, emotional vagueness, or Meghan discovering something the rest of us have known since 2002. Well, let's get started because my ibuprofen just kicked in, and that means I have exactly 1 hour and 30 minutes of patience.
Okay, real talk. Running a business is a lot. Building something new is a long road of making decisions in the dark and then holding this vision in your head when no one else can even see it yet.
Okay, duh. Groundbreaking insight. Thank you, Duchess of Obvious. And yes, we all know. But the thing about actual entrepreneurs, they don't spend time romanticizing the exhaustion. And I think this is where she's getting to. We don't sit down in the fog and admire the mist. We get stuff done. Period.
It can be slow. It can be scrappy. It can be exhausting. It's a process. And there's no roadmap. There's no manual. And if you knew how hard it would get, you might hesitate to start at all.
Wait a minute. Where she says that there's no manual, yeah, there is. If you go to business school, not everybody does. I understand that. But even if you don't, part of figuring out your business or how to create a business, that's a fun part. That's where resilience kicks in. That's the part where you ask people that have done it before you. You don't just float around the fog narrating your struggle for brand points. But listen, I'm not mad. I know sometimes I tend to overanalyze, but you guys are here to kind of pull me down, okay?
But that initial bravado, that initial going in like, I've got this, maybe it's essential.
I feel really lucky, but I also know that I created that luck because none of this was overnight. This was all.
You know what I said? I wasn't mad at Meghan. Okay, I take that back because she just launched a jam jar and a podcast from her Montecito mansion with a Netflix deal in her back pocket. And it just doesn't land the same, She says it's like she clawed her way out of a garage startup or something, when in reality, the launch pad was a Montecito mansion. This isn't real talk. This is scripted struggle. A perfectly polished attempt to sound like she's been through the entrepreneur trenches without ever really showing us the work. And now I think her female founder here is going to be, someone that had to pull herself up from the trenches, because Meghan always wants to have something in common. Hey, a lot of us maybe started off with nothing. A lot of us started off with a little. A lot of us started off with a lot. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be the same because we all don't start the same. And Meghan has that thing that she wants to always have something in common with the person that she's interviewing. And it doesn't make sense. Like, stop it, Meghan. Like, stop it.
All brick by brick.
And for today's guest, brick by brick is literal. Katie Lee is the co-owner of the hair salon Highbrow Hippie in Venice, California. She's also a go-to colorist for a lot of names you'd be familiar with. And she's recently launched a product line that sold out not once, but twice. Look, it's clear that Highbrow Hippie is on a serious roll. And I wanted to talk to Katie, who's also a dear friend, about.
Okay, so Katie's a dear friend, and Katie obviously probably most likely does her hair just like her makeup artist. So who was the guy that she had in her kitchen or rented kitchen? Was also worked for her. Are you running are you running out of friends? Friends. I say that very loosely.
What it's like to continually iterate and build on your brand. Her business started as a blog, then she opened a brick and mortar, and now she's selling products that people can't get enough of. Let's get into her story. There she is.
Hi.
Disregard the state of my hair right now. I'm so excited I'm seeing you next week. I should have a baseball cap on, really. I mean, there's a lot going on, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
A lot indeed, but all good stuff. And even more the reason that it's exciting to talk to other female founders right now about their journey, their experience, their all the twists and turns that come with the choice to be a female entrepreneur.
Why does she always sound so long-winded? Like I'm already bored. And we're only like what, 4 minutes in, and most of it was commercials.
And especially one of color and what that means. So let's start when we first met. What year was that?
Oh, it was 2020.
It was 2020. It was very much.
Why do they do that? They do it like, oh, it was 2020. Like that's so groundbreaking. Like it's like, whoa, it was 2020. Like what?
Much.
It was very much 2020. But as all good things, a lot of good things in my life, the origin starts with Serge Normand.
Oh, does it ever? So Serge Normand, leading hairstylist in the industry. And you know him because you worked at his salon in LA way back when.
Yeah.
And man, he and I became friends after he did my hair for my wedding. So my family had just moved to California. We were staying at our friend's.
I told you, she knows everybody. Just Meghan, get your whole staff and put them on the podcast. That's probably everything that she's doing. She's practically just grabbing everyone she's ever worked with or has worked for her to be on her podcast or her show or anything like that. And they're all her friends. Okay.
Home. And because it was the pandemic, I kept ordering boxed hair dye. And I thought I'm going to look just like she does on the box. And instead it was this very inky, almost Elvira-esque black hair. And I texted Serge and he said, you need to see Katie. And you came over. I mean, we were masked and all the thing. I mean, it was such an interesting time, but I remember that day so well.
It's so vivid in my memory too. You know, so much was happening that day with LA in general and the city and the protests. And I mean, I remember meeting you guys, and you were so warm, and both you and H like wrapped us up in these big bear hugs. And I was like, I don't even.
Oh my God, here we go. Again, we're not even 10 minutes in, and the lady is already praising Meghan. I'm telling you, I think they have like notes of what they have to do. The guest, make sure you praise her, make sure you say about her hugs, make sure you say that she's so warm. What? No, when have you? No, I don't believe it. I'm sorry. The more we get into every single podcast, and you guys have been with me throughout first, second, and the third episode, you know that all of this just seems 100% scripted. Because they all kind of start the same, like praising Meghan, and then maybe talk a little bit about yourself, and then Meghan tries to insert herself, and that's what's going to happen. Watch.
Know these people, and I'm not a hugger, but let's do it, you know, because I think everyone was just so, just needed like this exhale of, okay, like it's going to be okay, but what now?
Well, because for people who don't remember, this is at the height of George Floyd and just so much unrest. And that's what I meant. I also hadn't realized until I was doing my research. I'd known you had your salon, but I didn't know that you had just opened it.
Mm-hmm.
What, 8 or 9 months before that,
Yeah.
that we had met. I mean, what was that experience like to have opened it, to feel like you finally gotten there and then things really come to a full stop?
It felt like such whiplash.
Hmm.
And it felt like, gosh, we cannot get a break, you know?
Oh, I understand.
Shut up. Like, oh, I understand. There, she already inserted herself in there. It's like I was enjoying what's her name? The guest. I was enjoying her, talking about we had just opened, and then, we get this. Was it COVID? I'm telling you, I zone out at times because this podcast, thank you for staying with me. But she's already inserting herself. Like, come on, Megan.
Yeah, we just said, what else do we have to do? And
Yeah.
it felt like we had just conquered this big mountain, my co-founder and I, Micah. And I just remember when we'd made the decision to close, when it just started feeling so unsafe. I mean, I literally am in a touch point business, like I'm in very close contact with people. And I just remember feeling scared for my own, obviously, health and safety, but then just the numbers running through my mind of rent and my team, how are they going to pay their bills? And then my clients, like, will they still be here when we, even when we reopen? And when is that going to be? And it just felt like we're entering the unknown, and it was really frightening. I mean, there's a photo that a team member took of me when everything was just starting to happen, and my head is just literally in my hands.
Oh,
And yeah, my heart breaks when I look at it, because it just, I think, is every founder who has just poured their everything into launching something and then being like, not really sure what's next. Yeah. So it was, though it was a low time, about, I want to say 2 months had then gone by before I met you.
hmm.
So in that 2 month period, we had, like we always do, because we figure things out, especially as Black women, we had been mixing home color kits for clients. I mean, I was going around, my clients called me the Florence Nightingale of hair color, because I was going around in my car in like a full hazmat suit, throwing hair color over the
Oh my
fences,
gosh.
or leaving at their door at nighttime and just scurrying away like a little mouse. But we did enough sales in just a few months to pay our rent on time,
Wow.
make sure our team had some sort of money coming towards them. I had a few clients who asked how they could help. Some paid for their services a year in advance so that I could write a check to every team member. So all of this happened. It was incredible.
But also, what's incredible about that is it speaks to everything that I think is the ethos of what you've built the salon. And
Hi, Megan, with these words, bravado and ethos. I think she's just doing like, I don't know. Does she have a word of the day calendar? I'm like, because the other word that she used, she didn't even finish the thought. She just left it there.
the brand off of, which is community,
Yeah.
right? So for you, you had already invested so much in the relationships that people were going to show up for you in the same way that you've showed up for them. And I remember as well, you saying when the salon was going to reopen, how were you going to address these big conversations and topics?
Yeah, that was, I mean, it's obvious I am a Black woman, and most of my clients, many of my clients are not. And then there's this conversation that's taking place in the world at large that is not taking place in real time in the salon. And now we have to come together again and talk about that big elephant in the room.
Mhm.
And as we geared to reopen, I had clients calling, texting, emailing in tears, wanting, I think there were a lot of them were dealing with feelings they'd never felt before, thoughts that they'd never had to think about before, whether that be guilt, whether it be just, wow, I've never had to really step back and say that Katie's existence may be very different than mine. And now here I'm asking her to take care of me once again when really we should be taking care of her.
Wow.
Yeah, again.
How did that make you feel? I mean,
Am I the only one lost? I feel like I'm a little bit lost because they started off saying, this happened during this time because California, during the George Floyd. Isn't that when she was leaving? Like she was like Meg said, like she had left? Because they're not being very specific. They're kind of talking in code, which is odd and weird to me.
what was coming up for you? Every day must have felt different.
My body was steeling itself for heaviness. We worked for like 42 days straight, no days off. That's how booked we were when we reopened.
Whoa.
Yeah. So imagine just the physical toll of that.
But the emotional toll of 42 days straight of a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
Do you see? 42 days straight of like long pregnant pause. I don't like how she does that. Like she's going to say something groundbreaking, something amazing, and it's just nothing.
It was hard. I definitely felt that was probably one of the loneliest periods of my life. At the time, I was single. So then coming home felt like a relief, but then also like, what now?
Are you saying you're not single now? Have I missed something in the past couple of weeks? What's happening?
Can we stay focused, please?
You just said it. I was like, oh my, okay,
Perhaps.
You have to stay on track.
Perhaps.
We'll save this for a glass of wine on Sunday after all this.
Megan, another glass of wine? We're trying to help you and not look like you're an alcoholic, okay? I'm trying to help you. But you coming up with wine each and every episode also. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, lots of wine consumption during that time.
True. Fact.
Just sitting down with a glass, trying to let each day go, leaving it in the past. And, you're actually touching people. So it's like an energy exchange. And, everyone knows I'm like the least woo-woo person out there. But after that period, I really believe in it.
Oh my goodness. And she's talking to like the queen of woo-woo.
And because I would go home some days and be completely and utterly depleted.
Yeah.
And other days people really tried to pour back into me. So it just was like this big opening, I think, for everybody. And then Micah and I had I don't know if it was grand or silly at the time idea to have these patio chats because the patio is really the center of our Venice Atelier at Highbrow Hippie. And, it's where services are performed. Clients can lounge out there. And the patio was so off limits and when we were closed that before we reopened, we decided to go on Instagram Live and have a patio chat about race in America.
Okay. Well, so you've always been fearless and just getting right to the point, my Leo sister.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did those go?
Oh my God. I hate when people say that. My Leo sister, my Capricorn sister. I'll reiterate from other episodes that I say she's very woo-woo and all this stuff is spiritual nonsense to me. I don't believe in that.
For us, it felt great. For us, it was a release. Throwing another Leo into the mix. So is my business partner. She's a Leo. So we don't know how to do things halfway. Like we are doing them with our full heart and our full heads, and really talking about subjects that we were never afraid to talk about, within our own community or within our own safe spaces. But it was also a continuation of this conversation that we had started on MLK Day before the pandemic happened. We decided to have a salon chat in a true sense of the word because we always saw Highbrow Hippie as a real salon, an old school salon where ideas were exchanged, etc. And it was always going to be a safe space of an exchange of ideas. So we decided before the pandemic happened that we are going to talk about race and feminism and intersectionality. And we invited clients of all walks of life. I mean, every religion, every color, and everyone sat next to someone they didn't know. And we just went for it. We wanted to really dive into, are you looking at how things affect you if they don't directly affect you. We had probably one of the most emotional dinners I've been a part of.
Wow.
And people still to this day talk about that patio chat. So that was the original patio chat. And then George Floyd happened and the pandemic happened. And we're like, okay, I guess this is going virtual to the point.
How's this about business? Like, I still haven't gotten. I really wish there was a 2x where I could like fast forward things and we can still listen to it. But again, this episode is in line with everything else. Like, we haven't learned anything about business. All we learned about has been code. They're coding, like they're talking in code. And then they already talked about the woo woo. I forgot to mention the woo woo in the beginning. And they already praised Meghan, and Meghan already inserted herself into the conversation. So, are we sure that we cannot fast forward this? No. Are you guys okay? We just finished the episode here. Okay, I'm joking. I'm kidding. Let's continue.
Where we ended up having a reunion online the next MLK Day of the original patio chat invitees, and everyone was in tears. Couldn't believe it. That they were like, you guys are talking about this stuff way before anyone else was.
It's interesting because you started your company first as a blog, which I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then it was really a means to connect in a way that was virtual, but to create community, and then the evolution of brick and mortar. But how did you and Micah decide to do that first?
Gosh, I mean, so we've known each other now, cannot believe it, going on almost 30 years.
Wow, met at Spellman.
Met at Spellman College. Micah was an outgoing senior. I was a freshman. We worked in the same store at BCBG in Lenox Mall in Atlanta.
I used to work at BB.
Yes,
Sparkly BB shirt. What was that?
Let's not forget that Meghan's just like us. She's worked in retail. That was retail, right, BB? Yeah.
Sorry.
And honestly, Atlanta, late 90s, early 2000s, like we were having the time. I mean, we had so much fun. Spellman is obviously a very special place.
Wait, how many jobs has Meghan confirmed to have, but we haven't been able to confirm that she has had? I want to know that, because always Meghan's like, I was a waitress at a bar. I worked at BB's in retail. I did that. I'm like, how many jobs did you have? Like, what?
I was born in Jamaica and then immigrated to Connecticut when I was around 11. Micah is born and raised in Atlanta. So we have very different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to Spellman, at the time, it was a really special, safe space for me because I'd never been around so many smart, beautiful Black women before. And to spend 4 years out of your life not having to worry about being judged for anything else but just your pure merit was the most freeing place on the planet. I mean, plus we were fly, plus we were cute. Like, you know, like it was just like, I mean, you couldn't tell us anything. We had the time.
You had it going on.
We just had a great time, and people.
Oh, did you see that Meghan switched? She got it going on.
Often think because it's HBCU, all Black women, that oh, is that like the only people that you guys spend your time with? But weirdly enough, we all came from like private white high schools, and the fact that I went to Spellman and now known for like my blonde highlights is like no one's even surprised.
Well, and especially because you were doing hair at 11 is when you realized in Connecticut there weren't a lot of people there that could do your hair,
Right.
your texture of hair. So you started experimenting on your own.
Right.
I can't imagine what that was like. It kind of reminds me of when I was at Northwestern and I moved into Kappa, our sorority there. I don't even think they made plug-in flat irons at the time. They couldn't. If they did, I didn't know where they were because I had the little stove
Yeah.
with the flat iron that would go in and have a paper.
Okay, Meghan's around my age, maybe. Like, she's like a couple of years older, so she's probably around my sister's age. Yeah, there were already flat irons. What is she talking about?
towel on the side. I mean, there's probably half the people listening to this going, what is she talking about? We'd pull it out, we'd have the little scorch marks. And I remember most of the girls in the sorority who were not Black saying, what's that smell? Hair burning? And it was just what you would do to figure out how to grapple with this texture of hair. Were you using things like that back then? Or
I don't think, like, I remember when we didn't have a flat iron because we were seven children in my household. We would just iron with the flat, like not with the flat iron, but like with the iron. We would just iron our hair and that was it. Let's go.
is that what you were doing in college?
College was like when we entered like the flat iron era. But when I was in Connecticut, oh my gosh, my mom, did not have a lot of time to help me with any of this. So, she's a housekeeper, still is, and was just busy trying to keep us afloat. So I've always been very self-sufficient, left to handle and figure things out on my own. So whether it be putting my hair in braids or, just learning my texture, and I experimented with everything. I've worn my hair in every single hairstyle you could ever imagine on the planet.
But also, this is before, I mean, you 11 in Connecticut, this is before the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
It's not like you were Googling different ways to do your hair and your hair texture. Where were you finding inspiration for that?
Well, there's a town next, I grew up in Westport, Connecticut, which anyone that's familiar with Connecticut is like, wow.
Is there an immigrant community there at all?
Not really.
Not really.
No. I mean, my brother and I were two of maybe 4 Black children in the entire school system. So, and then immigrants, like we were it. That was it. But quickly, obviously, lost the accents. And, now I sound like a freaking Connecticut newscaster. But when I'm back in Jamaica, I'm back, like.
See, she did the same thing that the last guest that Meghan had did. The dad got here from India, immediately, tried to lose his accent. So obviously he helped his siblings, his children, and everybody in his family to lose the accent. That is usually survival 101. You try to do that because you want to assimilate. That's what you do to be part of the community. And I feel like in the last episode, they made it seem like, oh my gosh, like that it was something bad or something wrong. But no, in this episode, she immediately makes it sound good. Regardless of how you see it, they did this in order to change, in order to succeed and not be seen as an outsider. So kudos.
There was a town next to Westport called Norwalk that had a bit more of a diverse community. And I started working as, soon as I could have an after school job. And I met a few girls that lived in Norwalk and then discovered there was a salon there that had these hairdressers that knew how to do my hair. So I think just learning just by watching, but I never thought it would be a career. Like I got to Spellman, I had fun doing it, like just playing with hair, and then realized that I could make money doing it. It became like the side hustle in the dorm.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to this day, my friends from Spellman will comment on some photos that I'll post on Instagram and be like, we could not believe this is your job because you literally used to go to the pharmacy and just do color on us. And, they think it's the wildest, greatest, manifestation of just your natural talent. I just always knew how to.
We should make this into a game, like drinking game. Drinking, can you ever hear the woo-woo words?
To do it.
What did you think you were going to end up doing professionally?
I mean, I was an English major, so I maybe wanted to be a writer. I worked in PR briefly. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I lost my job after that soft recession of 2000 when people were just getting laid off left and right after I was done with Spellman. And I ended up back in my mom's house in Connecticut. And, like all good Jamaican mothers, she's like, well, you're not staying here. So
She's like, what's the plan?
Yeah, literally figure something out. And so my mom had this friend, Miss Lindsay, who used to take care of us, this older Jamaican woman who immigrated to Connecticut and was like a janitor in our school system. And Miss Lindsay took money that she had saved and she gave it to me for my train fare to go to New York City and enroll in beauty school.
Oh, wow.
So I started beauty school in New York, and I was at Aveda. And the minute I started, I just knew I was where I should be. It felt like home. It felt completely natural. I could do it with my eyes closed.
Did you ever think that you would start your own business? Did you think you would have a chair at a salon? Was that the ultimate goal? Or did you always feel entrepreneurial in what you were really sort of striving?
At that point, not entrepreneurial. There was a job fair and all the top salons came to recruit. And one of the salons was Frederick Fekkai, which at the time in, early 2000s was the salon. And I remember being like, oh, great, amazing. I'll just be a colorist at Fekkai, not really realizing that they'll hire anyone to be an assistant or to shampoo, but like, you're not a colorist right away. Like, you don't, I think about what I knew back then, which was absolutely nothing about color, and like the gall that I had to like be like, yeah, I'm gonna be a colorist. And
All right, I didn't catch it the first time, but we're halfway through, 25 minutes into the episode, and still no business talk. We haven't learned a thing.
the first day showing up and them handing me my shampoo apron. And like you're like $4 an hour. And but for color, it was, I always painted. I loved art. And it always felt like, okay, this is a canvas, and it felt really freeing to me. And I loved every bit of it. And not ever thinking that there would be a roadblock because I was Black, because there weren't any Black colorists, but it never even crossed my mind that it would be an issue.
When did it start to cross your mind then?
When I
Oh my goodness. Like she immediately, when did it cross your mind? Like I want to know, when was you being Black an obstacle? When the guest is saying absolutely nothing of that. She's just like, I never felt like there was anything for me being Black. Of course, she's going to probably elaborate more on that.
I showed up at Frederick Fekkai and saw that there were no Black people that were actually colorists there. There were a couple of Black assistants. And I was like, well, does anyone ever get promoted to be a colorist? And they were like, maybe. Then you start really doing some research in the industry and you're like, it actually just doesn't exist. But I don't know if like I was going through life naively. I just never think, until this day, I still think that anything is off limits for me. Like, that's what I feel like doing. Great, I'm gonna do it. And
I love that. Yes, that's exactly. I couldn't have said it better. She said it best. There's nothing off limits to me. Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
And I knew obviously that I had the artistic ability. I knew that I had the intelligence. But when you realize and get into the real world that like there is no one else that looks like you, you're like, huh.
Did it ever create any anxiety for you though?
Yeah, that anxiety.
Do you see how Meghan just like, give me your anxiety, give me your trauma. I want to poke into that. Clearly, the guest is saying, I just made a visual observation. Yeah, there weren't many or any people like me, but that wasn't going to stop me. But Meghan's like, did it give you anxiety? Were you scared? Or, you know what it's like, come on.
Anxiety was there, but I had such wonderful mentors. The color director, Constance Hartnett, her and I really, we bonded. And I think she never saw, me as like a Black colorist. I was just like her amazing assistant, who showed up every day, never missed a day of work, and had the talent. So she was appalled when I told her I wanted to transfer to California. Because in her mind, like New York was just it. And, her clients were just like the most sophisticated women on the planet. We're talking like Nan Kempner and Sigourney Weaver and just, Meryl and all these women that I'm learning literally how to do color corrections on. And I just one day was like, I'm cold and I want to live and study California. And Frederick Fekkai had an outpost there. And I was like, to Cali I go.
I love that you were just like, I'm cold. This doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
So you go to the LA salon, you obviously start working up in the ranks. And I mean, a lot of that, I think, feels like it's part of your journey as a colorist. But then at what point does it shift that you say, I am going to have my own brick and mortar. I am going to open a salon and a space? Because I find it really interesting to go from, you've had two entrepreneurial journeys, from that to then creating the brand, and how different those experiences have been for you.
Well, first, I was working with Serge, our mutual friend.
Yes.
And when his LA outpost closed, I found myself wanting to only work. If I couldn't find anyone as elegant as Serge, then I had to only work for myself.
That's such a beautiful compliment. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Then the answer was there wasn't anyone as elegant as Serge. And as the time was ticking by, it just became clearer that there was a need for it. There was a huge white space in just how people approached the salon experience and how they had become something that was honestly untenable for me to work.
Okay. This founder is just, saying what we spoke about in the last two episodes: obstacles, obstacles, obstacles. We all have different obstacles, and we all either see them or we don't see them as obstacles. Meghan is trying to tell this person, because you're Black, because you look different, that was an obstacle. Tell me no. And this girl's like, I don't care. I was cold. I was going to go. And if I couldn't work for the fancy schmancy kind of whatever, I was going to do it myself. There. Obstacle? No obstacle. I love it.
Working?
In what way?
Too big, too loud. I don't know. I don't know if you find the older you get, I just need quiet. I need peace and quiet. And peace and quiet does not really equate to a salon environment. So,
oh my gosh, that's me. In my house, I don't have one radio on, one TV on.
We started with that as our driver of how could we create a physical space that feels good when you're in it, that actually, regulates your nervous system instead of having you be completely hopped up on overdrive when you're walking out. Could the music be better? Could the just approach to the business be better? And that's where we started from. And I think we really just hit it on the nail. When we opened Highbrow Hippie, I can confidently say there was nothing like it in the country.
The name Highbrow Hippie, which I love, we love. I know the origin, but for people who don't, can you share that?
Yeah, I mean, Mike and I were chatting one day and what would it be? And she had a boyfriend who used to call her a bourgeois bohemian. And then we were like, people will never know how to spell that. They'll butcher it. And then I was like, I love the name Highbrow. And then literally at the same time, we both screamed out Highbrow Hippie. And it's just, we've had the name for so long. Same thing, kept it under wraps. It felt like this big secret that we had that we just knew was going to be our future. And we're talking 2009, 2008.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you knew.
We just knew.
You knew. And also the alliteration is so good. And it's a perfect barefoot, chic, all the things that you are. So I love that. And also to be working on something quietly.
Here we go. She's going to insert herself in there. Just like me. Just like me. Watch.
Yeah.
I had secured As Ever as a name in 2022. And then as everything started to evolve last year and bringing in a partner the size that it was. And
oh my gosh, this lady. But she needs to mention that she's working with a partner this large, as in Netflix, right?
It was just so interesting because you remember I said, I like American Riviera as an umbrella.
Yeah.
And then to be able to have verticals beneath it. And maybe have the orchard really small.
Yeah.
But when that's not feasible, suddenly it became this word salad. I didn't love that so much. He said, okay, well, let's go back to the thing that I've always loved.
Yeah.
Let's use the name that I had protected for a reason, that had been sort of under wraps. And then
protected for a reason. What is she talking about? I'm sure she just sat down and had Because when you're creating a business or when you're creating even just an Instagram, you're like, what should my name be on Instagram, or what should my business name be? And you always have like an amount, let's say minimum 10 of names that you like. And then once you look at them, you're like, well, maybe just these top 5. Well, maybe just top 3. And then you have your top 3 and you kind of figure it out. So I'm guessing this is what she had.
We were able to focus in the quiet
Mm-hmm.
and put our heads down and build on something that no one was sniffing around to even see about, which is really, really helpful to have that quiet period, which you would know after spending so many years working on something, building it, and the pivots that you had to take with it. Look at you now. I mean, the name Highbrow Hippie is no longer just a blog and a hair salon. It's a product line too. I mean, you have a hair supplement and a hair serum that you just launched late last year, and it's already been named Best Hair Serum by Oprah Daily. How on earth did you go from getting your financing together, creating the business, having this incredible clientele, the most loyal people who've been with you from the beginning, from high profile to everything in between, to then saying in the midst of still being a startup in those first 5 years,
Mhm.
we're going to start something else too.
Yeah, we always saw Highbrow Hippie as like this multi-dimensional thing. I mean,
She can't even relate Highbrow Hippie name with the As Ever name, because Riviera Orchard, I can't even say that right. It doesn't come out natural from my mouth, was such chaos. And she had to change it because it was chaos. She couldn't get anything around it. Ay,
we never put like any sort of box around what Highbrow Hippie could be. So when the brick and mortar was built, it really was just supposed to be the landing spot for the community, because people often launch a product and then try to have the community come to them. We were like, we've got this like gold mine of women who are just like the best women on the planet and who have all built incredible businesses, or run incredible businesses, or are running, or are starting, or it's just this collective power of a lot of positivity. But really, the record speaks for itself. You know, we have Leela Becker, who founded and built Mother Denim. I've got Kristen Davis, who actually just had a birthday yesterday.
Oh, she
And
did.
yeah, she did. And
Happy birthday.
I
Well,
will.
and Julia, who's championed you.
oh, wish her happy birthday so I can put her on my friends list and she can come to my podcast. Social glamour.
For so long, Julia Roberts.
Yes, it's I feel really lucky. So we knew that we could create any sort of product because we had this community already.
Mhm.
And when it was time to create the product, we took the downtime that kind of came with some of the pandemic, and we sent out a survey to our clients. And it was like, what products are you using? Hair, skin, body. What kind of services do you get? What kind of procedures do you get? You know, what do you feel comfortable spending? I mean, we asked every question. It was probably like,
There you go. That is business work. She was doing the entrepreneur work to make sure that her business was successful. She did research, and not just like overall research. She went straight to her clients already, that to see what her clients were using, what they were buying, what services they liked, so she can implement them and sell them with her name. How? This is business. She did the research. Megan didn't do any research. She didn't send out like, do you all like jam? No, because jam is not jam. The one thing I wish they would have done was rephrase this as business, saying, okay, so one of the most important things I did for my business before I opened it, or in the beginnings of opening my business, was create a survey so I can see and get information from the people that are already purchasing from me, that are coming to my salon. I want to know what they're using, what they need, what I can know that all these women want, so I can sell it to them. They should have rephrased it like this, because if you don't know, it's very probable that you could have missed it. All she said was, I send out a survey with 200 plus questions, which in business, it's she's doing her research so she can be able to sell to these people.
200 question survey. We sent it out.
No.
I mean, it was so in depth, and it was being super nosy. Not everyone answered it, but we had enough of a kind of a,
Yeah, the little R&D.
yeah, we did a lot of R&D, and it was just to inform ourselves. This is what people are thinking. This is what people need. And at that moment in time, when we sent it out, was when the impact of stress started really showing on people's hair.
Mm.
And so we knew that if we were going to launch a product, it just became really clear that it had to be about hair health and wellness. We've always included wellness. Literally, our tagline from the very beginning of the blog was beauty, wellness, and conscious living. And we knew the product had to encompass all three of those things, which is why we were very quickly able to hone in on our growth serum and our well-being supplement. And then we worked on it for years.
I mean, for years, because I remember for years, because to go from what would be the natural and perhaps more obvious choice is people would say, great, you have a hair salon, so you're in like shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to start with. And that's what it will evolve into, which I would also guess from an investor standpoint, it might feel like a safer bet, even if it's really saturated in the market. So what was it like for you when you guys were really sort of creating this business plan?
Wait a minute. My little light bulb just went off. Hold on. Oh my gosh. I feel so dumb. Yeah. This is the one that she was photographed with Katie Lee. So Meghan is an investor in her business. Oh my goodness. This is probably the most boring podcast, number 3. Okay, we're almost done.
And ideating on the idea of something that is not perhaps most typical, but based on your own focus group from your clientele, you were able to really have a proof point and say, we know that there is a hole in the market for this. We can fulfill it in this way holistically. But that still feels like a gamble.
You know, I guess it didn't feel like a gamble to me because I joined an accelerator program at the beginning of, oh gosh, I guess last year, because raising money. I mean, we're talking about a whole world that I knew absolutely nothing about. And I think that especially knowing the numbers out there for how little Black women raise, whether it be VC or, I mean, it's the number is so small, it actually is abysmal.
I don't know if it's shifted since last year, but 2% for just women for venture capital raise. And what is it? 0.34, 0.35% for women of color.
Yeah.
You're right. It is abysmal. It is a shockingly low number of investment that goes into Black female-owned companies and trade.
Yeah. So I knew that it might be an uphill battle. So if I'm going to do it, I need to actually have the knowledge that I need to be able to execute this. So with the time that I do not have, I signed up for this accelerator, which was Monday and Tuesday mornings. And I definitely asked the most questions, but you learn really quickly, like there are no stupid questions. And any opportunity I had, whether they had like the extra office hours or anything, that I could get some extra time with these 2 women, Kelly and Annie, who are just amazing. It's called Dream Ventures. I carved it out and just asked anything, whatever they could teach me. I was like, please just tell me what to do, because I also wanted to respect my clients' time. I knew I'd probably be doing a friends and family raise because luckily I have clients with the means to be a part of a friends and family raise. And
okay, she's going back and saying, okay, I joined an accelerator because I saw the numbers that, they weren't on my side. Again, she's just saying they weren't on my side. So I knew I had to take action. And she did. She joined the accelerator and tried to excel and ask questions and just try to get as much information as possible, because why? It was an obstacle for her. It was an obstacle, but she was going to see how she could get around it or get over it. That's how entrepreneurs work. That's how business works. You will have obstacles and you will have analytics or numbers that are against you. But with that information, what you do is you're like, okay, the numbers are not on my side, but how can I get on the other side? I want to be with the numbers, not against the numbers. And I like that. She's like, okay, who else has done it? Let me work with them and ask as many questions as possible. She was there to learn.
And I knew the amount that we needed could probably be accomplished in a friends and family race.
And it was.
And it was, yeah. So you still want to be respectful of people's time and their energy and that you're taking this really seriously. But I knew we were onto something when I did the accelerator and I won. And
I know you were. You were here. What was that? A week or two afterwards, you were here, and it was just, you were glowing. You won.
Yeah, I was the top business out of all 25. And I mean, someone caught it on camera when they said my name. I just burst into tears because it is just so unlikely, but in my pitch contest, when I said the words, "The world does not need another shampoo and conditioner," literally I could have heard an amen from the crowd. Like, people were over it, they wanted a real solution. And then with the statistic that like 80% of women are going to experience some sort of hair loss in their lifetime.
Yes.
It also just kind of took the Band-Aid off. People were looking around. I asked everyone to raise their hands if they'd experienced any, and everyone's kind of peeking around, and then the hands are slowly going up. And
there you go. That's what she did. She's like, where do I find a gap in the market? And she's like, let's not reinvent the wheel. I'm a woman. I know that all of us are going to experience hair loss. This is what I'm going to do. She did it. And then she just used marketing.
It felt like they were safe to finally admit it, and which we knew there was a market because, look at Nutrafol. They literally just sold to Unilever for $1 billion. So there is a market for this, but never one that was created by salon experts. Sure, there were some doctor-created products, physician-approved products, but we had the direct connection to the consumer.
Yeah.
And I just knew.
Yeah, and you live and breathe hair health.
Yes. It's always been my thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of the woo-woo things. I live and breathe it. Okay.
And so much of that raise came from the fact that people feel so confident in their belief about you and your work ethic. And I think that's a piece that is such a common thread through how you show up in the salon, how you show up in those chats that you created. It's all about really just your ethos, and of course having a really strong business partner as well. What has it been like to have a friend that's your business partner?
There are good times and bad times.
That's life.
And that's life. Yeah, I think that our biggest strength is that her and I are always on the same page when it comes to the bigger picture. We know that we want to build a company, and we actually also know that we want to sell the company eventually, because we both have such varied interests and curiosity about the world and life. We want to have another chapter in our lives. And because that's always been the goal, when we find ourselves having a moment of friction, we come back to the goal.
Yeah.
And we come back to our dedication to that goal and to each other.
And to be really aligned in that. I mean, it's great that one of our other really good friends, Vicky Sai, I think has been a mentor for both of us, certainly in what she created with Tatcha, from her parents' garage to also selling to Unilever for quite a hefty sum.
Yeah.
But the level of dedication, work ethic, and her thoughtfulness and her approach is what I think is so key. But
I think she doesn't understand. She can see it, the work ethic. She understands that that's what gets you over the obstacles, right, of business. But she doesn't do them. She thinks she knows best, and she's worked with the best, but she's unable to keep the best. That right there, I don't know how she's missing it. other than her narcissistic mindset. She's like, I still know better than you because I've been failing at this longer than you.
I remember very early on when I was talking about starting a business, she had said to me, okay, well, Meg, you need a reverse engineer. Who do you want to sell to? As opposed to just thinking, I'm going to create this thing and then we're going to see what's going to happen. And then,
Oh, that still sounds like exactly what she did. She didn't reverse engineer. It sounds exactly what she did. Like she just decided to create something. It didn't work out. She changed the name. And then she's just like, you know what? I'm just going to sell jam.
I think they might be interested. No, let's reverse engineer 5-10 years from now. Who's going to buy this? And everything you do starts at the intention of what the ultimate goal is. So you're not task-oriented, you're goal-oriented.
Exactly.
And when you have that level of business savvy right out of the gate.
So what's the ultimate goal for her jam? Like, where does she go from here? What does she mean 5 to 10 years from now? Because jam seems to not take her anywhere better.
You're looking at it through such a different lens. So let's imagine and assume when you sell,
Yes.
because you will,
Yes.
but it will be a great day of celebration. What would you do in your next chapter?
Oh gosh, I want to kind of go back to my English major roots. I want to get some writing done. I'd like to live in another country, perhaps my native land of Jamaica. Maybe I'll try a stint in Europe. I'm just a really naturally curious person, and I was not blessed with kids. I'm still holding out hope I might be a stepmom or, one day. But for right now, I'm just super aunt.
I mean, our kids love Auntie Katie. It's their favorite when they run out with their cars like, Katie.
I know. I feel like I look for them first.
Me too. I know. That's okay. Habits.
And I don't know. I feel like with the freedom that gives me, I should be able to just live a completely new chapter. And, perhaps it's with this new love of mine.
I can't with you. It's so unfair because we have 9 minutes and all I want to do is ask about, is it the yes? It is the.
Oh my goodness. They're ending the episode the way they started it, where they're talking in code and we're like just listening in through the other side of the window. Like, is this a podcast for us or is it a podcast for just you two? I feel like I'm overhearing a conversation I shouldn't, but okay. Do I look like a priest with this on? Oh my goodness. It's too late. We're already at the end.
Okay. Well, this is very exciting.
Yeah.
It's very handsome. Okay. So yeah, a different chapter where you would have gone through all of this adventure.
Yeah.
All of these twists and turns. We haven't even touched on what was the one hurdle that you didn't see coming? What was the one mistake that you made that, my gosh, if you could say to someone who was doing their own grind and building their own business, do not do that. That is a no trespassing. Don't go there.
I mean, listen, there are a lot of predators out there. And predator is a strong word, but there's a lot of ways for entrepreneurs to really waste a lot of money and a lot of time. And we definitely had some people who built themselves as quote unquote experts, and we didn't need them along the way, and certainly not for the amount of money that we paid for the duration that we paid. But we were able to spot it and, pivot from there.
So I think what she's trying to say, we hired experts that we thought were experts, but at the end of it, they weren't. So we let them go.
It's really just keeping your wits about yourself and not getting too comfortable. We also always have our bottom line in mind.
So we always have our budget in mind, and don't let your ego get in the way. That's what it sounds to me.
Very responsible fiscally. And the reason why we were even able to get a small business loan to put into the product company where we didn't have to raise so much money is because we were able to, with our small, mighty team in our atelier, during the pandemic, still managed to net well over $1 million in profit.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. So we were able to literally provide the numbers to the bank, and, very few people also get approved for those loans. So we were able to be fiscally responsible, which then created freedom and opportunity for us.
Right. So by instilling confidence in the people that were going to invest in you, it gave you freedom, which I think as an entrepreneur, part of it too is you've always kept a really tight team.
Yes.
And even when you have a cap table and you have investors, I think all the investors that you've brought on, they are so...
Okay, I'm smiling because Meghan is saying you always kept a tight team, and that's something she cannot keep, is a tight team.
Emotionally invested in you as well as financially invested in you. So you don't have people breathing down your neck, which I think can happen quite a bit, certainly in private equity.
Kind of like the way you do it. You're breathing down your team's neck.
But you have people that either have big businesses or big voices or platforms that in whatever way they can help support you in this growth and in this chapter.
Yes.
Would show up for you.
Yes. It's, I feel really lucky. But I also know that I created that luck.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? That she worked for her luck. So it's not really luck. You work for it in order to get what you want. Why does she call it luck? Oh.
Hope it's like the one thing that our team sees, that like hard work can really open up a lot of opportunities in your life, because none of this was overnight. This was all brick by brick, but because we always just stuck to our vision of excellence. I mean, every little detail that we do, even at the atelier, is so well thought out. We serve everything with
Exactly. Well thought out. She just said that, which means it's not luck. It's something that they've been working for.
The linen napkin underneath it.
You sure do. It's everything is beautiful.
Yeah, everything is beautiful. Everything should be beautiful. And I just feel that if you really stick to what your core morals and like essence is, you're never going to lose. So I don't know, Mike and I, we always feel like.
So she's ending this podcast with keep your core morals and essence. Like, what does she mean by essence? Because Meghan has used the word essence before, and she tried to bottle it up and send it to everyone.
Of course, for a year. Like we have a lot of self-belief in ourselves, because the world is hard enough being a Black woman. So we definitely lift each other up. We lift this business up. We're not going to ever have any negative self-talk. It's, it's hard enough.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thanks, Meg.
It's amazing. It's just,
I'm so proud of you because it's amazing. Like, give her some meat to that. I'm so proud of you because you work so hard. Give her something. I'm so proud of you. It's amazing.
So it's just, honestly, it's so amazing. And I'm sure there's so many women who are listening and people just in general who are listening that feel inspired and to go, there's a certain point where even if you don't know exactly what it is from the onset, as you're discovering it, what is unwavering is your commitment to excellence and your value system. Right? So that appears in any of these iterations of what you did to now continue to build while you're still building. I know that sounds odd, but again, like most people go, I built a salon, not I built the salon, then the brand, and then still thinking about what could come next. I mean, I'm doing the podcast right now, the show and the brand.
Yeah.
And I went, that's 3 launches at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of moving pieces, but it's also energizing.
Yeah, but
you had 3 moving pieces because you wanted to have it that way, or because you delayed one and now you have everything coming out at the same time. And I believe you did it for a reason.
I mean, I look at what's coming up for you and it all makes complete sense, because nobody entertains like Meghan, okay? Everything is just beautiful and intentional and thoughtful, and that's why you're not going to lose either.
Thank you.
Wow. They wrapped up the episode with her guests praising Meghan like no one entertains like Meghan. Oh, and she's not wrong though. It's just unfortunately not the kind of entertainment I think Meghan intended. More like unintentionally comedy than an entrepreneurial inspiration. And listen, if you made it to the very end of this podcast episode, I owe you an apology. Because if I wasn't recording this breakdown for you all, I would have clicked off in the first 5 minutes easily. These episodes don't motivate, they don't elevate, they certainly don't inspire or talk much about business. Each one somehow manages to be more bland and dull than the last. But hey, you made it, we made it, and now we know better. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this break, nope, I'm not even going to say it if you enjoyed, because it wasn't very enjoyable, but just go ahead and like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.